Thank you for tuning in to Billionaires Club 101. I want to thank you for tuning in. Today's topic is Monique and D.L. Hughly's online back and forth. And one of the things that I've observed, and it's consistent, is Monique's husband is her manager. So he's going to, whether she's right or wrong, he's going to play to her side because that's what a husband is supposed to do. But when you're her manager, you have to set aside those husband feelings and tell her the reality. You're burning bridges. You are burning bridges. D.L. Hughly and Monique had a stand-up show where they both performed. I'm not sure if there's anyone who were before them, but those are the main two people who are big in the comedy industry. Now, who's bigger, Monique or D.L. Hughly? They both have some good stuff, but D.L. Hughly is more relevant these days versus Monique being relevant in the late or the mid 1990s to the early 2000s. But after 2000, she went on and had some roles in some movies, try to keep her career alive. But then when it comes to comedy, she do have a fan base. She does have a fan base. But Monique, husband, who's supposedly had got her the headliner spot for this stand-up show, apparently something went wrong where Monique was not the headliner. D.L. Hughly was the headliner. I got some ticket stubs kind of showed D.L. Hughly as being the headliner. So they both have a certain fan base. They both are balance each other out as far as comedy goes, where their content is as such where it draws a crowd. But when you're doing these shows and your career is just on the brinks and you burn bridges with Lee Daniels, Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, Lionsgate, Steve Harvey, now it's D.L. Hughly. And Steve Harvey had an interview with Monique saying that, people are saying she's difficult to work with. And on the Breakfast Club, Angela Yee pointed out someone from a magazine said that Monique was difficult to work with. So that being said, and it shows when Monique gets on the stage for a certain amount of minutes and she's going on about her contract and just berating D.L. Hughly with just foul language, talking about his wife and how much of he's a coward and all these other things. But the best way for her to be was to just turn that club out, make it hard for him to perform. You did so well that follow that. I remember there was I think it was Busta Rhymes who said that when he used to do openings for the headliner in music, he turned it out. So whenever that person who came up behind him, it was hard to follow Busta Rhymes with the energy he has and all those things. So she could have just did an outstanding performance, not talk about their contract because it's irrelevant to what the crowd want to hear. Of course, they're, women's rights and all that stuff because you're talking about it. But they didn't come to see, a dispute between two comedians where something went wrong. Now, Monique was the professional that she was. Maybe they could have had some pre-performance checks and balances, like mic check, time frames of who gets on at this time, who gets on at that time. But D.L. Hughly said he left his hotel at 9 o'clock because he was supposed to be on at 9:30 or something like that. So apparently he know what time he was to be there. They said that Monique showed up late and she wasn't prepared. And it sounded like when she's performing or ranting, she didn't have so much material to talk about. It's just more of a yelling into the microphone. So one of the things that I might suggest, and who cares about what my suggestion is, but I have an opinion. I'm a fan. I think she has a place in the comedy world, but her husband has to know when to let that position as a manager go, because he is not doing her justice. He's doing her injustice, because when he's writing a contract and he sends it off, oh, she's going to be the headliner. What kind of person that says, oh, I want her to be the headliner? You don't have that authority to say she's going to be a headliner. Two powerhouses going at it. Who cares what lineup it is? This is just a show, testing out chemistry, seeing how things work. They could have did a few more shows down the line where DL goes on first, Monique goes on second, and then vice versa. Versus this one show where she's talking crap about DL Hughly because she has a chip on her shoulder because she did an interview on the DL Hughly show, but DL Hughly did not interview her. Some other colleagues interview her. At the end of the show, they want to do a joke type of skit, and the joke was more of a would you rather joke. Would you rather for someone do this to your husband, or your husband do this to such whatever it was. So Monique said that was her being upset because she said she called DL Hughly, told him what the colleagues did, and that show never aired. So DL Hughly took heed to what she was saying and did never air that. No one would have known about that show unless she would have not brought it out to the public. She brought it out to the public. Now people know about it, but we didn't know about that stuff because it was never aired. And you can't hold DL Hughly accountable for something that some colleagues thought was funny and it wasn't funny to Monique. But he also took responsibility and didn't air that content. So my overall opinion is Monique's husband needs to be her husband, play the sideline to her career, stop putting in contracts where you put Monique at the top tier of people who are valid, who has a post on the audience, versus here's Monique and her ranting, and then for Monique to come on and on her YouTube to say, hey baby, DL Hughly did this and DL Hughly did that, and I'm not gonna let nobody do this to me and this and that. Stop playing the victim. Stop playing the victim. You did that with Lee Daniels, Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, Lionsgate. But one thing you have to understand, your career is diminishing right before your eyes. And I think this is one of those defensive mechanisms that you know it and everyone else knows that. And when doors are being closed on you, the income will start to dwindle as well. So the most important thing is, I would suggest go through some counseling, reinvent yourself, get more movie roles. If that's not what you're already doing, you may be currently doing that already. But you have to build bridges and stop burning bridges. You're not always right. Sometimes you're going to be wrong. And just because you speak loud and obnoxious and say some profanity, it still does not make you right. You could have easily just went on that stage, did your best performance, give the crowd what they have, and then allow DL Hughly to try to follow your good performance. And then you guys could have more shows together, which equals more money. But yet you want to put a finger at an object and point at it and say, this is what's the problem. Versus you pointing that thumb back at you, you are the problem. Your run was from, I would say, 95 to 98. And then you had some reruns on your show. And then you played in some parts of some movies, got precious, and then you didn't want to market it or do what they were asking you to do to even bring it overseas for the whatever festival that is, where it gets more notoriety in all global markets. And you want to find out what hotel they're putting you in and how much makeup and this budget you have, versus just going out there, being a good sport, playing into getting more roles. You're networking. You're look at Ari Spears. No offense to Ari Spears, but he said he sabotaged his own career. He didn't want to go to Eddie Murphy's house to be a court gesture. But Michael Thomas says he loved going to Eddie Murphy's house to watch those boxing events, because they were networking with other industry people who put him in other positions where he was able to make millions of dollars, able to be on good movies, able to go out and perform his comedy. His reach is a little bit further. So Ari Spears at the time was playing more of the chitlin circuit, and Michael Thomas was playing more on the mainstream circuit, doing movies and comedy. This is what his talents were. Landed some roles on the Jamie Foxx show. Landed some roles. He had a major role in the Jamie Foxx show because he's networking, meeting people. Monique is telling people she's a legend. Okay, you're a legend. Now get to work. Good. You're a legend. Get to work. You don't hear Eddie Murphy saying he's a legend. No, he's making movies. Dominating the movies. Being parts of animated movies. Things that is going to keep building residual income. Versus your husbander making contracts that just, okay, D.L. Hughly went first, or you went first. Do your bit of comedy and move on. You guys can build up a relationship as far as comedy goes and say, hey, D.L., you went last on this one. On the next show, I'm going to go last. And you guys can build a good cross-country, maybe a 10 show, if that's what it is, venture. People will be excited to see that, but people don't want to be excited to see a fight. People don't want to spend money to see a fight between two comedians, and one who's just want to be over obnoxious about a contract, where if you had a flaw or dispute with your contract before you went on, could have maybe called D.L. Hughly, did some planning, versus I'm so bigger than him, I don't have to reach out to him. He needs to reach out to me because you're labeling yourself as a legend, and you know your legendariness of what you put yourself at is overshadowing your communication. You know, if you have a manager and you have some disputes, your manager, right, your husband, he should have put some phone calls into D.L. Hughly and in his camp and said what some grievances are and say, D.L., this is what we have. Is it possible for we to do this? Versus, let's finish the show and go on live on your YouTube channel and talk about it, and you guys are all hugged up like you guys are laying in bed, and she's talking and you just being a puppet. She's talking and you're kind of just, yes, DL, this is what it was. No, just could have just been a manager and told your wife, you need to learn how to just go out and perform, period. But us seeing her in public, we can only imagine what she does to him, or how she talks to him behind closed doors. So he's very well postured as far as what to say, how to say it, and make sure he's on the agreeing list with her, because if he goes against her, it might be some other consequences for him. So, you know, he's in a good position to, you know, this is my job. My job is her manager. Period. So I want to know what your thoughts are. That's just my opinion. You know, when two comedians can go out, both do some great performances, they're going to have some antennas going up, possibilities, some roles and movies can come up. More shows are going to come up. People want to see them. But when you're battling like that, it's not going to happen. I think D.L. Hughly can find other talent he can go out on the road with, like a Samoa or someone like that, who can hold stage presence and then allow him to be the person he is and let him just turn it out. D.L. Hughly is a great comedian. He has a fan base. He has a radio show. So he does has his finger on the pulse of what's going on, and he's current on current events. He has an opinion that people want to listen to, as well as Monique. She has a fan base, but she's burning a lot of bridges. All right. Thank you for tuning in to Billionaires Club 101. And if you are not subscribed to our channel, please hit the subscribe button. Thank you for tuning in. Have an excellent day.